Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the reasons why permanent peace seems to be elusive in the state of Manipur. And we are also going to discuss that what is the genesis or the background of this entire conflict that the state is witnessing for past 1.5 years. What are the recent steps government of India has taken to ensure that the violence can cease, and what are the demands of different groups that are inhabiting the state of Manipur. So, first of all, if you try to understand the background of the entire issue here, ethnic conflict or ethnic tension erupted somewhere in the Manipur in the region despite efforts by New Delhi to stabilize the restive region. Ethnic violence is not something new here. It has been going on for nearly 2 years now, and the most we can say important development happened in the month of May 2023, when you have a long standing grievances between the Meiteis and Kuki community expressed itself or manifested itself in the form of a violence where the lives have been lost by both groups or from both sides. It has claimed over today if we talk about the official figure, as a result of this ethnic conflict and violence, over 250 people have died and more than 50,000 people have been displaced. Now, before moving further, let us try to understand about the demographic composition of the state of Manipur. Now, if you look at the Manipur, the state itself is surrounded by hills from the three sides, that is from the east, from the west and from the south as well as from the north, and between all these hill areas you have a valley, and that is where the capital of the Manipur, Imphal, is situated. So, this is what we can call as the Imphal Valley. Now, if you look at the demographic composition, you can see that the valley area is largely populated by a group called as Meiteis. Meiteis are a group that largely are a follower of Hinduism, and some of them are followers of Buddhism. So, they make up about 53.3% of total population of the state, and they are restricted, or we can say they are basically living in the small area of Manipur, Imphal Valley. Similarly, you have the second largest group, that is of Naga tribes. Naga inhabit about we can say the northern as well as the southern part of the hills, and then they make up about 24.6% of the total population. And then the third largest group that you have is of Kuki community or Kuki tribes, who are making up about 15.6% of total population, and as you can see from the figure, they inhabit the hills of the southern part of Manipur around the Imphal Valley region, you can say. Apart from these groups, there are other some minor groups as well, such as Pahari, Nepali and others. They make up a very small percentage of population. So, largely whatever ethnic strife and conflict that we have witnessed even before or right now in the Manipur is largely due to the dissatisfaction between the aspirations and between the what you can call as the demand of these three groups. Now, interestingly, the Naga and Kuki collectively have been given a tribal status. They are classified as a scheduled tribe as per the Constitution of India, while Meiteis are simply categorized as general population. And this is one of the basis of the grievances, where Meiteis believe that due to their non-tribal status, they are being discriminated against, and the Kukis and Nagas are able to enjoy a lot of benefits associated with the tribal status. And if you talk about the entire conflict, why did it begin? It began because the Meiteis began to demand official tribal status for themselves that can help them in getting privileges such as reservation quotas you have in the government jobs specifically, you have reservation quotas in the educational institutions, you have the rights to buy and purchase land and properties in the tribal areas. For example, right now Meiteis are restricted, they cannot go in the Kuki and Naga inhabit area and purchase land there or start a business there, because the scheduled tribal areas are protected under the constitution. So, these are the limits that they want to overcome, and that is when they demanded or began to demand the official tribal status. Now, obviously, if Meiteis themselves, which constitute the largest share of the Manipur's population, if they also are classified as a tribe, then obviously Kukis and Nagas, the rights or the privileges that they are enjoying, they will obviously lose it, and they fear they will further get marginalized if the Meiteis secure the tribal status. So, against this demand of Meiteis, Kukis began to protest, and with the passage of time, as the anger flared up, the protest has converted into what we can call as a violent protest. And now the situation has turned so bad that currently the entire state has been divided into two exclusive ethnic zones, and the buffer zone between them is continuously being patrolled by the central security forces. This was a measure taken, and it was necessary also to reduce the spate of violence. So, violence to some extent has reduced, but still we can say that violence has not completely ended in the region of Manipur. Now, in this context, the recent some changes or what you can call a development that has happened in the state of Manipur is in the last month of February, the CM of the Manipur, Viren Singh, has to resign after taking the responsibility that he has failed to basically what you can call as reduce the violence between the Kukis and Meiteis. And after his resignation, now president rule have been imposed upon the state, and the state's responsibility is now being carried by the central government, largely through the Ministry of Home Affairs. So, in this regard, recent meeting was scheduled by the Union Home Minister Amit Shah himself, and this meeting was when he decided that we should institute or enforce a free movement regime in the Manipur. Now, here the free movement regime specifically states that under this regime, it will enable the Meiteis population, as I told you, living in the valley areas of Manipur, to go into the Kuki areas, that is who are inhabiting the hill regions, and similarly Kuki Jo people, they can also enter and move into the Imphal valley, that is the Meitei area. So, this is what is the objective of free movement regime. However, again this is something that Kuki have completely rejected. They have said that unless and until a final solution or sustainable solution toward peace is undertaken, we will not accept the free movement regime. And also they have said that it is only the Meiteis who will benefit from it, because they are the one who have to exit the state and they need to come to the Kuki Jo areas. The people who are Kuki, they do not have any need and they will not go into the Imphal valley inhabited Meiteis. So, that is the reason why they have rejected it. Now, how to bring lasting peace? That is obviously a very difficult question, but many of the experts who have spent a lot of time in this region, they suggest that one way of bringing peace is obviously bringing all the stakeholders, whether it is the Naga people, Kuki Jo people or Meiteis, on a negotiating table, and also the mediation should not be done by any party who might be having some sort of what you can call allegiance to a certain group. Rather, it should be done by a neutral mediation. So, unless and until all these three groups come together, sit together and try to understand each other's concerns and grievances, sustainable peace seems to be difficult to achieve. Also, during the process of mediation, it should be ensured that it is fair and impartial in nature, and also even after some sort of settlement reached, after that when the state is being run by the government, it should ensure that there is equitable resource sharing or federal arrangement should be done, that no group feels that one group is being given something more or one group is basically being what you can call as discriminated against. So, unless and until these steps are taken, peace is something that we can consider to be elusive in nature. In this regard, a well known international organization by the name of International Crisis Group also have submitted its report, where it says that the root cause of ethnic tensions need to be tackled, and establishment of a peace committee. The peace committee should be constituted of such members who are acceptable to both the communities, and that is only possible if they come from a neutral background. Now, other concern that is raised by the International Crisis Group is because of the disturbances, whether it is the political disturbances or whether it is what you can call as the disturbances because of the confrontation between different groups. States militant groups who are facing terminal decline due to the counter-insurgency operation launched by the Indian security forces since very long period of time, they have started to come back stronger. And if the situation is not controlled in a relatively short period of time, there is a huge possibility that these what you can call as insurgent groups, they might come back much more stronger. They will deepen further the state's ethnic divide, and also it will cause a dangerous ripple effect in the neighboring state, because if you look at the map of northeastern states, all the states are very well connected with each other. They are having or they are sharing border with each other, and not only that, many of the tribal groups are inhabiting multiple states of the northeast. For example, Nagas, they are inhabiting the Manipur area, they are living in what you can call as the Nagaland area, they are living in Arunachal Pradesh, they are living in the Assam area. So, obviously, if Naga tribe is facing certain problems or are having certain sort of conflict, it will spill over in other states as well where those tribes are residing. Same goes for the Kuki Jo as well. Now, militant factions in Nepal have amassed a vast array of stolen weapons, including over 6,000 firearms and ammunitions. This also is something that the security forces and the government will have to take into consideration, because again, if situation does not improve fast, the militants can try to take advantage of these disturbances and can try to launch a fresh attacks against the government force, against the security forces, or even against the civilian. Now, the question comes is, what is perpetuating the conflict? In this regard, many of the experts have argued that it is not only the community and the tension and conflict between these communities who are behind, or which is behind the particular conflict. Rather, there are many politicians, there are many high level, what you can call as the stakeholders with various parties, we can say with vested interest, they are benefiting from the conflict that continues. One of the parties, as we discussed, is obviously the militant groups. So, for them it is better that the continuous conflict continues. Apart from that, many populist leaders also have been blamed, who are known to utilize policies and the politics of dividing the society, such as sectarian and divisive politics, to come in the power. And for them also it has served interest in the past, but now this has turned, the snake has turned its head, and now it is basically creating another set of challenges. Conflict as a leverage is also being obtained, is being used by many of the group here, because these groups, once they understand that as long as the conflict persists, government will try to reduce the violence, and thus government will try to bring them on the negotiation table. And when the government is trying to negotiate with them, that is when these groups can put forward their demand and can put pressure on the government to satisfy this demand and to meet this demand. If they do not do so, obviously they can say that conflict will not be stopped, conflict can be prolonged. So, conflict is being used as a leverage to meet certain political or administrative goal by certain groups. That is also one of the reason behind the perpetuation of the conflict. Then obviously economic gain, political power and the control or the aspiration of control over the resources can further perpetuate conflict, and the elements or forces interested in keeping the pot boiling, there are many such elements, there are many such parties. So, unless and until those are weeded out, we should not expect any final resolution in the short period of time. Now, the fast evolving dynamics and equations in Myanmar also has to be blamed for certain extent, because if you try to again understand, Manipur shares a border with the Myanmar, and many of the group that lives along the Myanmar side, whether it is the Naga tribes, they have their own connections and they have their own linkages, kinship ties, we can say, with the Myanmarese group, Myanmarese tribe. Similarly, when we talk about Kukijo have very strong interlinkages with the Chin tribe that resides in the Myanmar. And now Myanmar itself is facing a lot of internal conflict, because we talk about the Arakan army, who is trying to put forward what you can call as a protest or put forward a front against the ruling military junta of Myanmar. So, because of this internal equations changing in Myanmar and the geostrategic interest of various countries, it is further exacerbating the ethnic crisis in Manipur. So, both internal factor as well as external factor, international factor to some extent can be considered as responsible for this. Now, when you are talking about the Myanmar effect, we have to understand that not only it is the internal rebellion of Myanmar, but because of this internal disturbances in Myanmar, the border of India-Myanmar is poorly regulated. And taking advantage of this, many of the insurgent groups who are dependent upon drug, arms smuggling, immigration, irregular immigration or illegal migrants to generate revenues, they are taking advantage of this, and this again have further intensified in the recent time period as reported by the security forces. Also, the political instability of Myanmar has always been tied to Manipur due to the kinship ties, as we have discussed, that span the porous frontier, and without a shift in the policy and enforcement mechanism, the situation is likely to deteriorate further. So, that is why whatever decision government of India takes, whatever policy government of India makes, it have to accommodate the Myanmarese situation or Myanmar condition itself. In conclusion, what we can say, that apart from having a mediated solution or mediated negotiation largely by a neutral party, government also have to ensure that they are decisively taking action against any cross-border infiltration that can further intensify and increase the strength of insurgent groups lying dormant in the region of Manipur and the nearby states of northeastern India. And also a clear counter-insurgency strategy and political consideration is need of the hour. If all the decision multi-front approach or a strategy we can say, if the government of India is able to apply both on the front of development, on the front of political settlement, political negotiation, as well as on the front of counter-insurgency, internal as well as external negotiation, then obviously we can expect that Manipur can again become a peaceful and progressive state in the coming future. So that is all about this particular video. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to our channel for more such helpful content. Thank you very much.